guys, welcome back to my channel. First of all, I want to say Happy New Year. I wish you guys a happy and blessed New Year. I hope you guys reach all your goals. I want to thank you guys for subscribing to my YouTube channel. For everyone who is new, welcome to my channel. Please hit the like button, it helps a lot. And don't forget to share this video with anybody you know who needs the help. And subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you're notified anytime I post a video. In this video, I'm going to be answering a question from my requested step-by-step LPN tips for the 3 to 11 shift in long-term care facility. I asked you guys in the video to leave any video suggestions that you want from me down below, which I will get to everybody in future videos. But for this video, I'm answering Future Nurse K. Hey, Future Nurse K. And she says, I would love to see a video about pros and cons and step-by-step guide for working as a night nurse in a long-term care facility. Well, thank you so much for your question. And I will answer the first part of your question in this video and the second part of your question in another video. As usual, don't forget to leave your suggestions on any future videos that you want to see from me down below. So if you guys want to know some pros and cons about working the night shift as a new LPN in a long-term care facility, sit back, grab a snack, and enjoy the show. Okay, let's go. The number one pro is that I would say the night shift is very quiet and low-key, and it's less intimidating. Why? Because there are not a whole bunch of doctors around, there's not a lot of supervisors around, there's not a lot of other nurses around, so you don't have to worry about so much scrutiny, so much people watching you, because there's not a lot of healthcare professionals around, so it's more quiet and low-key. Working the night shift is a good opportunity for brand new nurses, because you actually get a chance to sit down and go through the MARs, get to know who the patients are. There's a lot of downtime, so you can use that downtime to click on the MAR and see how many medications the patient gets in the morning shift and then the evening shift. Just in case you want to change shifts, you can see the amount of medications and treatments the morning and the evening shift nurses have to do. If your nursing home didn't really give you adequate preparation, adequate training and orientation, it is a good place to learn where things are. So for example, you can learn where the out on pass form is, discover where the narcotic sheet is, you can discover where many sheets are, because sometimes nobody will actually sit you down and say, oh, this is this sheet, this is this sheet. Especially if you're a new nurse, you're most likely going to be floating, so it is good to accommodate yourself with the floor and where sheets are, so just in case something happens when you're working on your night shift or any other shift, you know where those sheets are, and so you won't be a nuisance to anybody where somebody has to constantly tell you, oh, this is where this sheet is, this is where that sheet is. I mean, yes, granted you are new, but it's great when people don't really have to tell you where it is, that you actually take the initiative to discover where it is on your own. Depending on the nursing home facility and their laws on visiting hours, there's not a lot of family members are usually at home sleeping, so there's not a lot of family to, you know, constantly ask you questions and distract you from your work. Granted, there could be a family member who asks you. I remember when one time I was working the night shift, and there was this woman, she stayed with her, I think her father. She stayed with her father throughout the whole night. I think the fact that there's less family visitations at the night shift, it is less stress on you. It's one less thing you have to worry about. You don't really have to kill your feet, so you're not really on your feet all the time. There's a lot of downtime. It's mostly paperwork, so you sit down and then you do your paperwork, and there's not a lot. And another pro is that there's a small amount of medications to be given in the morning, maybe 1 or 2 people, maybe 1 or 2 things. Usually you give Synthroid in the morning, maybe here or there blood pressure, not really. So that is another pro. You give your feet a rest. You literally have all daylight hours to yourself. So after you finish your night shift, you have your day and evening to yourself. So if you have kids, you can get your kids ready for school, take your kids to school, help them after school with their homework. You literally have the day and evening to yourself. The cons of working night shift is that you can feel extremely groggy, lack of energy, the lack of sleep is real. Now, I did night shift when I was a brand new nurse for about 2 years. Like, I did it like consistently, and even if you don't notice the consequences right away, you will eventually notice. You can just do a quick Google search, effects of working graveyard shift, and you'll see what I'm saying. So basically, when you're working the night shift, it can be really hard on the body because your body is not meant to be awake during the night hours. Of course, if you are a night owl, this probably won't mean nothing to you, but me personally, I'm very productive during the daylight hours, hence the sunlight you see. That deaths usually happen during the night shift, usually early on, like maybe around 3, 4, 5 a.m. And, you know, if you're a new nurse, this can be very emotionally hard for you. But also, if you're a new nurse and you have no idea what you're doing, like maybe they didn't train you as well because of money reasons or whatever, that can be really hard because if somebody dies or if you have a code, like, you have to know what to do. You need to know the steps. You need to know where forms are. Because at this time, you know, depending on who your supervisor is, he or she's gonna expect you to know what to do when somebody dies. There are forms to fill out. The patient needs to be wrapped and ready to go to the morgue. There's so much to do when somebody dies. So, in the night shift, you know, that could kind of scare you. There's one supervisor to the whole building, so like that can be really hard because if you don't know something, of course you can ask another nurse to help you. I remember when I first started working night shift, I worked in one unit and I was one nurse, and I could ask the other nurse on the other side, but sometimes nurses won't help you. So if you're very new and your nursing home didn't provide adequate training, that can be pretty challenging to always call the supervisor and ask a question because she or he is usually the nurse for their entire nursing home. But of course, if you have a question, make sure you ask. It doesn't matter if you think that you're bothering them because you don't want to make a mistake. So definitely ask, but that could be one con. The nurse, like, you are the only nurse. You are the charge nurse. So even if you're an LPN, you are the charge nurse. You are responsible for all the patients and you are responsible for all your CNAs. So that can be a lot because, you know, that is your license. So everything falls on you. So if there's a code, if there's 3 emergencies happening at the same time, they're going to look at you. Everybody's going to look at you because you are in charge. So that can be kind of intimidating. Of course, you know, use your judgment and use your discretion and let supervisors help you. Sometimes there are 2 nurses to 1 unit and that is good, but most of the time it's only 1. And sometimes you have to travel to other floors to find nurses to help you. They mandate you for the 11 to 7 shift. You have to stay. So I remember one time I was working 11 to 7 and at 6:55 a.m. the supervisor came to tell me, Kimberly, you are being mandated. I said, what do you mean? She's like, the nurse just called, there's a sudden emergency, you have to stay. And I remember at that time I didn't get to take a break during the night shift. So imagine you're working the night shift, your brain is kind of like, because you haven't slept all night. So I had to stay into the morning shift. And that time, you know, I was new, so I wasn't really, I didn't really know about the rules and regulations of mandation. So, you know, that's why I'm saying, like, definitely educate yourself in the rules and regulations of mandation. Because when you're working a double from the night shift, that is no joke. So when you're working the night shift, you are at risk for being mandated. So there's always that thought. Depending on the nursing home, of course. It's either that or your badge. Or sometimes they will say, oh, well, we're going to say that you... Sometimes they will fire you, and sometimes they will put on your record that you abandoned the patient abandonment. So that's a con. That was the end of my pros and cons of night shift. I hope that this video was very helpful to you. As always, if you have any questions, concerns, leave it down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye!